All right. If you haven't done so already, please do make sure that you've got your notepad, you've got your pen, or you've got your uh, strategic planning workbook, which is available on Amazon for those of you who have your copy. We're going to be working our way through that today. So to get us started, what I'd really love for you to kind of throw into the chat box. If you on a scale of one to five, five being absolutely amazing, one being not so amazing, how would you rank your year so far? First 6 months of 2026, how would you rank your year so far on a scale of one to five? On a scale of one to five, just throw your number in the chat box. Okay, three. Okay, two and a half. All right. Three and a half. This is good. Threes, fours. Okay, this is good. This is good. All right. Thank you. A couple of more threes and twos and threes and okay, five. Okay, Valerie. Yes, I love the fives. Two and a half. All right, this is good. So the purpose of the mid-year review, it's an opportunity for us to stop. STOP. Let's just stop and take a forensic look at where we are, what's working, what's going well, and what's not going well, because we still have 6 months. We still got half a year left to turn around whatever isn't working and make sure it is working in our favor. So in today's session, we're going to have a look at a couple of trends. We're going to do a trend review. Then we're going to do a personal audit. And that personal audit is really about having a look at ourselves and having a think about where am I? What am I doing? What do I need to do differently? We're going to then look at the next 6 months, and then we're going to finish up with a couple of declarations. And one of the reasons why this is important is because how many of you have noticed that life is not linear? Life is not linear. Um, Life is more like a scatter diagram. And one of the reasons why it's important is because why the mid-year review is important is because the structure that you need in order to improve the structure that you need in order to improve your outcomes, what I found, that structure adds to my discipline. When I've got a set structure that I need to follow, it makes me more disciplined about my fitness, about my faith, about my family, about my finance, about my fun, about my firm, my business. And all of these are detailed here in across the initial pages of the strategic planning workbook. That level of structure allows you to be a bit more focused. So for those of you with the book, on page 23, you will see the life framework wheel. And the life framework wheel speaks about your financial family, your faith, your firm, your fun, your friends, and your fitness. And then you're able to go through and have a look at what's working well and what isn't working so well. And the reason this is important is because how on earth will you make a difference? How will you make a change if you haven't done any evaluation? For those of you who are working in highly regulated environments, how many times do you do monthly reviews? Weekly reviews, quarterly reviews, annual reviews? If you do it in your business, and this isn't only about money, it's about you being able to understand a trend. It's about you being able to understand where you are now and where you want to go. And how are you going to get there? So in order to properly understand that, the first thing that you need to do is to be able to understand where you currently are. So I want you to kind of lean into this question for a moment. I'm not sure why this has got a blank piece here. All right, I want you to lean into this question just for a moment. What must I stop? Sorry, start again. What must I start, stop, continue, and accelerate over the coming 6 months to stay aligned with my 5-year vision? Take a snapshot of this screen so that you can continue the conversation after today's session. You could even carry on the conversation with your family, with your friends. I don't know what you've got planned for the rest of Saturday or your after church conversations tomorrow, but start asking yourself the question, what do I need to start doing in order to stay aligned? What do I need to stop doing? What do I need to continue? And what do I need to accelerate over the coming 6 months in order to stay aligned with my 5-year vision? Because this is important as I review my own context and my own life and some of the things that I've started doing, I started tracking my eating habits much better. Yes, I eat quite healthy, but women of a certain age, I don't know for those of you who are into that health space, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical health doctor, but the conversation or the narrative is that women over 50 need to increase their protein intake, and they need to exercise, do resistance training more because as they get older, they begin to lose muscle mass. So I've got this app. It's called Appy Diet. I take a photo of my food and it measures the carbohydrates, the protein, and the fat intake of my food. So now I feel like I'm a bit more in control of my eating. It measures my exercise and then tells me, it converts that into the calories that I've burnt. It takes measures the water that I intake, and every exercise that I do, even household chores, you're washing dishes, you're vacuuming, you've gone for a walk. It measures all of that and converts it into calories. So I can see I'm trying to manage a calorie deficit. So I can see at the end of each day whether I've overeaten or under-eaten, or whether I've had too much fat in my diet or too much carbs in my diet. So I've started to do this and I can already feel the immense difference that it's having in my life. What have I stopped doing? What am I continuing to do, and what am I going to accelerate? So if you have key targets for the next 5 years, 2031, what do you need to continue to to make sure that you stay there? Now, the reason why the strategic planning workbook is helpful for you to do this is because it helps you get clear on your goals. It helps you to define what matters the most in this season of your life. And for women over 50, I learned this as I was trying to sit down and navigate, right, what's happening here? What do we do next? Where am I going? How am I going to help myself? But I wanted the clarity. And so the strategic planning workbook allowed me to take the ideas out of my and put them onto paper or onto a book in a coherent fashion so that I could WIN. I want to win. I don't want to be sitting down in all the time. I don't want to sit down thinking about woe is me and I woulda, shoulda, coulda. I don't want to live that life. So if I get more strategic about my fitness, my faith, my family, my fun, my friends, and my firm, then I'm on that right track. I get clear, then I write that plan. As I write the plan and I start acting, I recognize that confidence comes in the movement. I'm not waiting until I feel different. I'm courageous because I'm moving. I'm confident because I'm moving, not waiting for it to happen the other way round. I've got to be intentional in order to live my life on purpose. And I want for you to do the same. Life doesn't just, you don't get what you plan. You get what you intentionally focus on and put those stepping stones for implementation. That's what you get. You get what you implement, not what you plan. You get what you implement. So implementation is key. It's one thing to get the ideas out of your head and put them in a book. It's another thing to actually implement the plan. So here's the question. If the first 6 months of 2026 had a headline, what would your headline be? And I'd love for you to throw that in the chat box for me. If the first 6 months of 2026 could be a headline, what would that headline be? I'm going to give you a couple of seconds just to think about this. And there's no hard and fast rule. Honestly, it's not a test. But I'd love to hear your thoughts, your feedback on what would your headline for the first 6 months of 2026. Whilst you're thinking about your headline, if my headline for 2026 would be, let me throw it in the chat box as well. Fasten your seatbelts. Ready for the transition. My headline for 2026 would be fasten your seatbelts. Ready for the transition. Let's see. Oh, naked and unashamed. I love that. Process in progress. So do not digress. Oh, I'm loving these. Naked and unashamed. Procrastination needs to stop. Okay. Dr. Joan, thank you for this. Cancel your excuses. And she's even, I know this was AI. I know that artificial intelligence helped you to do this. All right. Marion said she made it despite life's challenges. Oh, I love this. So mine was fasten your seatbelt, ready for the transition. Pauline said, I am still here. Keep pushing forward. 6 months of building the visibility ecosystem. Oh, I love this, Shalina. He set me up to gain. Thank you, Zena. Good to see you. She's going higher. Yes, Valerie. We persevere. Yes, Joyce. Don't stop me now. Yes, Jackie. Oh, I'm loving this. I am loving this. I'm loving this. I'm loving this. Congratulations. Be obedient, be strategic. Okay, Colette, remain grounded throughout the hurricanes. Oh, yes, I love this. I'm coming out. Make room for me. Yes, Labina. Transition into the next. This is what it looks like. Ladies, I am loving this. Now, please make sure. Oh, she started again. Yes, Susan, I love this. Please make sure that you just take a screenshot, or you can save the chat at the end. Please do save the chat at the end. Because these are really inspiring and really quite motivational to continue to lean into and to continue to share for yourselves. And these are your headlines. For those of you who are thinking, look, you know what? I don't even like my headline. You can change it, right? I remember Dr. Joan Myers said this one time. Like she said, you're not a tree. And that was a revelation to me. Like you're not a tree. You can actually change something that you are not happy with. You can actually change something that you are not happy with. So I want to see if we can do a quick poll here. Let's see if I can do this. Uh, all right, let's see. All right, on your screens, you should have a poll. And the question is, what have you noticed most? Or what have you noticed most changing in 2026? So is it around artificial intelligence, digital adoption, employment career, entrepreneurship, the cost of living, health and well-being, women in leadership, community and belonging, or global politics? So there's about nine kind of things for you to choose. What have you noticed the most that is changing in 2026? Um, I'm just a bit more time so that you can participate in the poll. What have you noticed the most that is changing in 2026? Is it around artificial intelligence and digital adoption? Is it around employment and career? Is it around entrepreneurship? Is it the cost of living? Is it health and well-being? Is it about women in leadership? Is it around community and belonging? Is it about global politics? I can see we are at 55% participation. I'd love to get to 75% before I share
I
the
can't see it. Where is it? Is it in the chat?
no, it should be on your screen.
Oh, it's not on my screen. I could just see you.
Oh, it
It
might.
went off.
Huh?
It went off the screen really quickly.
Okay. I'm not sure where it would be on your device, but I can still see people contributing. All right, so I'll talk you through it. Let me end the poll because I'm at 66% now. I can see of those of you who are on the line, 66% of you have 66% of you have. All right, let me end poll. But the question still remains. What have you noticed most has changed? Um, And I'll share the results here. Can you see the results on your screen? Yes? Okay. Okay, so most of you have said artificial intelligence. Yeah, okay. 62% of you said you've noticed the most shifts around AI. A couple of you, 4% have said about employment and career. 15% have said around health and well-being. 4% have said about women in leadership, and another 15% have said about global politics. Let me. Ah, okay. So the reason why I wanted to share this with you and bring this to your attention is because in your own context, in your own world, in your own spaces, I want you to be cognizant of what's happening in the global or the bigger context, bigger environment, and understand what that means for the next half of 2026. So we're thinking around artificial intelligence and some of the changes and challenges that we're seeing in that space. And earlier on in the year, we had invited Cheryl Palmer, Chief AI Officer, to come in and speak about AI and some of the shifts that we are seeing in that particular space. She spoke about artificial intelligence and technological adoption and what that means for us now in this epoch of time. Some of you might be looking at employment and career changes and seeing how AI and digital adoption is disrupting the way how we work, disrupting the job opportunities. I'm seeing more and more headlines around banks closing. Go to the supermarket now, and there's more and more self-checkout tills. I noticed that the self-checkout till only used to be for baskets. Now I'm seeing self-checkout tills for the whole trolley, so you can do your whole shopping. And now instead of having 20 members of staff each on their own till, you've got two people navigating that aisle. So what does that mean for us in this season of life? We hear lots of conversation about entrepreneurship and young people, millionaires in their front room, right? Doing e-commerce from their bedroom, making millions. We see lots of conversation about the cost of living and how that average basket, you could walk into Tesco with £20 at one time and walk out with, a good amount of shopping. Now you're going into the supermarket and walking out with three items, four if you're lucky. But the cost of living, and I remember listening to my daughter. She passed the driving test last year, and now as she's driving, looking around at petrol price, I'm not paying. That's £1.60. Oh my God, that's £1.70. So she's looking at petrol prices. The conversation around health and well-being and retirement and longevity has been really has prioritized itself in some of the circles that I'm in. And I shared this with a couple of you earlier on, that in this one of the school communities that I'm a member of, I've joined a retirement planning community, not because I'm planning to retire. I've got like another 17 years runway, but I joined the retirement planning community because I wanted to hear what a bunch of 65-year-old plus 65, 75-year-old people were discussing about retirement, so that if I adopt some of the things that they are saying and what they are doing, if I do it now, I'm 17 years behind them. If I do what they are saying now, then hopefully I should be positioning myself all right. I'm listening to their conversation, and you understand when I say they do not look like me. Of course, they are older than me, but they do not look like me. And this is free learning. I sit in the community 30 minutes, 45 minutes, sometimes an hour, and I'm taking notes about what they're saying and what they're doing with their pensions and why they're moving from here to here and the types of conversations that they're having with each other and how it's working and how it's not working and why they're doing this and the way how they're making sure that they've got enough money in their pension pot so that when they do retire, that the things that they want to do in their retirement, the way how they are making sure that they have enough money. And these types of conversations were just amazing for me to sit down and listen. So I want you to think about these trends: retirement, longevity, women in leadership, relationships and community, global political changes. For those of you who are watching what's happening across the to our relatives across the US and some of the political challenges that they are experiencing, you want to ask yourself three questions. Which of these trends will affect me? Maybe none of them, maybe all of them. But you want to have the question, you want to have the conversation. Which of these trends will create opportunities? Which of these trends could create risks? And which of these trends are distractions and don't need it doesn't need my attention. Because here's the thing, not every trend requires your attention. Not every trend requires your attention. Let me share this on the screen with you so you can take a screenshot of this, and you can continue the conversation in your own time. So, which of these trends require or will impact you directly? And as we think about AI and digital adoption and retirement and women in leadership and entrepreneurship and global politics, you should be asking yourself, what of these are going to affect me? As you think about your strategic planning workbook and as you think about where you see yourself in 2031, where do you see yourself in 2031? Which of these trends will directly affect you? Can you just throw into the chat box of the trends that we are discussing? Which of those do you think will affect you directly? If you can just put that in the chat box. Which of these trends do you think will directly affect you? For me, AI, yes, I think artificial intelligence is going to impact everyone. AI, yes. And so you've got geopolitical, yes, geopolitics, health and well-being, and AI, yes, I see you coming through. Global politics, yep, I see you coming through. AI and digital adoption, yes, I see you coming through. So as you're thinking about the trends that are going to directly affect you, AI and health, I also want you to then start thinking about if these trends are going to affect you, how do you mitigate against them? Somebody said all of them, yes. How do you mitigate against? How do you mitigate against them? How do you protect yourself? What do you need to put in place in order to support yourself? We can't live in a bubble. We can't live in a vacuum and be closed in our thought processes that think, oh, I'm just going to pray about it. Yes, pray about it. But after you've prayed, what are you going to do? The second thing I'd like you to think about is which of these trends will create opportunities? Just throw in the chat box, which of the trends? I just want you to pick one. It's easy to say all of them, but I want you to pick one that you will start leaning into. Which of those trends will create opportunities for you? AI, yes. Listen, everybody should be looking at how AI can create opportunities for you. Everyone, AI seems to be the winner right here. Yes, and I agree. I reconfigured my entire mentoring program around AI. Some of you will know I also have a digital AI mentorship platform. It's called Mentorado. Every Monday I send out a link to remind you to log in because Mentorado is your new all artificial intelligence artificially intelligent mentoring platform, and on a weekly basis you can go in and have a conversation with your mentor, and your mentor will tell you about your business and the things that you need to focus on this week and every week to help bring your business to a place. For those of you who are thinking, what on earth is Claudine speaking about? Every Monday I share out a link to Mentorado. I'm currently running, it's free. I've partnered with a firm in Atlanta. You know that I'm the European lead for the Atlanta Black Chamber. I've partnered with a firm who are developing the platform. And for those of you who are in my community, you're able to access it for free at the moment. You've got nothing to lose. It's what I am leaning into to develop the AI on one element of my business in order to create broader, deeper, more lucrative opportunities. So I want you to think about what trends will create opportunities for you and your context. It doesn't necessarily have to be about business. It could be about your life. And that's what the strategic planning mid-year review is about. It's about you taking a forensic look at where you are in order to make this work. Number three, what trends could create risks? Just throw in the chat box. What do you think? What trends could create risks? What trends could create risks for you? What trends could create AI? Yes, AI feels like a blessing and a curse. It feels like a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's a blessing. On one hand, you're like, boy, this thing, like people be sending pictures and videos and copying your voices and all sorts. Geopolitics, yes, and AI, I see you. And so the reason why it's important to identify menopause, that's funny, but it's also true. But the reason why it's important to identify the trends and understand the opportunities and the risks is because if you don't know what the risk is, how are you going to mitigate against it? If you don't know what the potential risk could be, how on earth are you going to position yourself to come out winning? You have to be able to understand. You have to be able to take a deep dive. You have to be able to know with a certainty what are the risks that I am facing in order to mitigate against those risks. In the business world, we call this due diligence. We call this a deep dive. We call this digging deeper to have a better level, a deeper level of understanding of the risks. We are too old to be hiding under a oh no, I'm just going to leave it to the young people. What on earth? Listen, I'm young. I'll be 52 in September. I am young. Do not age me. I am very young. I've been training. You, many of you will know, I recently taken up Taekwondo. I've been training with the young people. Some of them are on Team GB. I can keep up with them. Obviously, with not all the moves, but when we're doing the warm-ups and running up and down, I can keep up. Don't age me. It's not a time for us to be lying down and hiding and thinking to ourselves, oh, this is not for me. It certainly is. And I want you to familiarize yourself with the risks. And then the last thing, which trends are a distraction that don't require your attention? Just throw in the chat. What trends do you think are a distraction and does not require your attention? What trends are a distraction and does not require your attention? Just throw a couple that you think social media. Okay, I think that's another one that's a bit of a double-edged sword. Because with one hand, it can help increase your visibility. It's the easiest way to increase your visibility, but doom scrolling is definitely a distraction. Doom scrolling, just scrolling for no purpose. If you are intentional with your scrolling, right? So for me, this morning I woke up, I see that I've got a whole bunch of new followers on LinkedIn. I'm being very intentional about the conversations that I am curating with those people and picking out who do I need to meet with, who do I not need to meet with, who do I need to send some more information, who has opportunities that I may be able to leverage. But on the other hand, doom scrolling, oh, I wonder what such and such is doing. None of your business. Get on with your own life. Oh, I wonder what this one's eating. Why do you care? Why do you care? And so you've got to make a determination in your own space, in your own context, what is good for you, what is not good for you, what will grab your attention, and how on earth do you ensure that this is fit for purpose in terms of where you are, where God has called you to be, and the place where you see yourself in the next 3 to 4 to 5 years. So here's a couple of reflection questions that I want you to think about in terms of where you are and where you're going to be. And in your strategic planning workbook, I want you to use this as an opportunity to start thinking about what do I need to shift? What needs to shift for me now in order to make sure the second half of 2026 turns out to be absolutely amazing? So the first question that I want you to think about is, what am I most proud of so far this year? What am I most proud of so far this year? Feel free to drop a comment in the chat if you want to share a win And that's one of the reasons why I loved the feedback from Michelle, and where she spoke about doing the workshop, where she was able to stand in for a highly respected member of the community, and deliver an absolutely amazing workshop, so much so that they booked her for next year. Um, Simone launched her book, even though she's navigating the highs and lows of life. Um, Janet has delivered her first 3-month program. Angela launched her legal clinic. Dr. Joan is writing her second book. Others are writing circuit con I am a circuit contributing artist. So what wins are you most proud of this year so far? Improved health and well-being. This is really great. Now, one of the really important things for those of you who are thinking about these proud moments is, how do you make sure that you utilize those proud moments and that you can build upon them? The second reflection question I want you to think about is, what has not gone according to plan? So, on one hand, things are going really, really well. I'm happy with life. I'm happy that, I've started a workshop. I'm happy that I've launched a book. I'm happy that I've launched a new program. I'm happy that I'm a guest on a somebody else's podcast. But on the other hand, what has not gone according to plan? If anyone wants to throw in the chat box, in the chat, what has not gone according to plan? So this is the balance of life, right? It's what I spoke about earlier on. On one hand, we're winning. On another hand, it's waning. On one hand, we're advancing. On another hand, there's adversity. On one hand, things look like it's going calm and smooth. On another hand, it's commotion. What has not gone according to plan for you? And you may not want to talk about this publicly, but for those of you who do, healthy eating, um, and maybe you haven't lost as much weight as you would like to. Healthy eating, yeah, improved health seems to be doom scrolling, yeah, seems to be something that's coming up a lot. Um, Social media visibility. Okay, so when you're answering these questions, this is an opportunity for you to think, okay, if this hasn't gone according to plan, then what do I need to do differently? How do I need to make sure I improve in this particular area? And creating an action plan to really help yourself step out of where you are into the place where you want to be. The next thing I want you to think about is, what patterns keep on showing up? What patterns keep on showing up? For me, I noticed that I kept on eating comfort food. Listen, salt and sweet popcorn from Tesco is the one. Oh my goodness. Salt and it's 99p a bag. It's not like I'm spending lots of money. I can justify this. 2 bags, like that's £2, like on comfort food. Oh, and let me tell you, it's not for sharing. It's definitely not for sharing. And I can finish a whole bag in the afternoon, right? I can finish a whole bag in an afternoon. Claudine, there is a pattern that is developing and it's not good for you. So what do you do about it? Limit the trips to Tesco. Stop eating the popcorn. And if you do have to eat it, all right, eat it, be a bit more measured, be a bit more disciplined, right? Just don't eat a whole bag at the same time. Like, this is the big bag. Like, just maybe make that one bag last for 4 sittings so it can actually last you for the whole week instead of 1 hour. That's the conversation that I've been having with myself, right? I'm kind of letting you into the conversation in my head. Like, I'm saying to myself, Claudine, can you do that? Can you make this last 4 days instead of 1 hour? So whatever I mean, it's my guilty pleasure. And of course, I'm allowed to enjoy myself. But you got to understand how these patterns disrupting your ability to arrive at your goal. I shared with you earlier on that I'm using this this app to help me track my eating habits and be more healthy. Well, if you want to be more healthy, popcorn is the last thing that you should be eating, Claudine. How about some more kiwis? How about some more Sharon fruit? How about some more fruit and veg? And yeah, of course, I do have those things, but let's identify those things, those patterns that are causing challenges so that you can name it and shame it. The other thing that's really important is to understand what's currently draining your energy, right? What's draining your energy? Because this is your ability to make a shift with those things that are not serving you. What's draining your energy? What is zapping the life out of you? What is that thing that's causing you to be doom scrolling or moping or just not the best version of yourself? So you need to be able to understand. Sometimes it's people. Sometimes, I mean, I'm not suggesting that you put their name in the chat right here, but sometimes it's people that's draining your energy. And the real thing that you've got to do is limit the amount of time that you spend with certain people or spend in certain spaces because it's not good for you. It's not helping you. Sometimes, there are people who you have to speak to, but you've got to decide instead of being on a telephone call with somebody who wants to moan for 30 minutes, I'm going to have to limit that conversation to 5. Hey, great to see you. Great to hear you. Hope you're well. Oh, really sorry that I can't stay longer than 5 minutes because I've got another call coming in, or I've got something to do that's taken me on a journey. And, don't get me wrong, of course, you want to be compassionate and empathetic to your friends and to your family and to people, but every day there's another problem. There's a problem for every solution. Like, I'm not that person. So you got to be able to identify what's draining your energy and how are you going to deal with this. And then the last thing I want you to think about is, where am I seeing opportunities? Where am I seeing momentum? And how do I build on this? Where am I seeing opportunity, or where am I seeing momentum, and how do I build on this? So, for example, I really love what Michelle said about doing that workshop. That is amazing momentum. You can then take that workshop, if you haven't done so already, Michelle, and almost collect testimonials, use it to showcase the feedback from the workshop, post it all over your professional social media channels so that you can amplify and build momentum from that opportunity. Simona's just launched her book. As you write your 5-star Amazon reviews, she can then build on that momentum from the publishing and create an entire social media strategy. Same for Janet. She's done her first 3-month program. She can amplify the feedback and the amplify the feedback and the results from the participants and use that to build momentum. Same for Angela. She's launched her legal clinic. She can take before and after testimonials. So where are you seeing momentum? Where are the things that you think, right, this has happened. Let me build on this. Let me take this to the next level. Let me use this as an opportunity to ensure that the second half of 2026 is absolutely amazing. Everybody just type the word amazing in the chat box. How do I ensure that the second half of 2026 is absolutely amazing? If you want amazing outcomes, if you want unconventional outcomes, you've got to do unconventional things. If you want uncharted, if you want undeniable outcomes, you've got to do undeniable things. You've got to step out of your comfort zone. You've got to step out of that place of comfort and do something different. Do something that you have never done before. It looks hard. Oh my goodness, Claudine, you're asking me to do hard things. You're asking me to do something that I'm not comfortable with, that I've not done before. Yes. Let me just tell you here. Yes, you are right. I'm asking you to do something that you have never done before, because that's the only way that you are going to make the progress that you're looking for. So here's a question that I want you to ask you. How many of you have ever been asked a question? Just put a Y in the chat box if you've a Y for yes or an N for no. Just put a Y in the chat box if you've ever been asked the question, what would you tell your 5-year-old self or your younger self or your 20-year-old self? And just type a Y for yes or a N for no in the chat box. Okay, looks like most of you. All right. I kind of want to spin that on its head this morning. And I want to ask you a slightly different question. And I want to ask you a different question. And the question that says, what will the 2031 version of me thank me for? So the 2031 version of you is in 5 years' time. And you could ask yourself, how old will I be? And that will help you determine how to answer the question. But what will your future self thank you for doing now? Just think about that for a moment. What will your future self thank you for now? In 2031, I want the 2031 version of Claudine to say thank you for being courageous. I want the 2031 version of Claudine to say thank you for doing it. Thank you for stepping out. Thank you for opening up opportunities. Thank you for thinking differently about yourself. Thank you for putting down the coffin. And I'm going to tell you what the coffin is in a minute. I want the 2031 version of me to thank me for being brave. I want the 2021 version of me to thank me for writing that book, to thank me for sitting on that board, even though I was petrified and didn't think I had the capacity or the capability, but I did it. Because if I did it in 2026, then the 2031 version of me is going to be ready for more. That's how I increase my capacity for more. I want the 2021, not 2021, the 2031 version of me to thank me for being courageous. Somebody said, thank you for stewarding your finances well. Oh, I love that. Thank you for stewarding your finances well and not spending it all frivolously or spending it all on popcorn like Claudine does. Thank you for having the healthy shakes in the morning, teaching Zumba consistently, saying yes and pushing through even when scared. Yes, I love this. What else? What will your future self thank you for? Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for still believing. I want you to think about this. Thank you for being more transparent and more resilient. So I want you to think, if you haven't done so already, take a screenshot of this because I want you to have this as a conversation between yourself and your peers. Let's stop talking about yesteryear, yesterdecade, last year's. Like, we want to talk about the future because that's where we want to live. So what do you need to be doing now? What do you need to be putting in place now? What types of conversations do you need to be having now? If your future self is gonna thank you for stewarding your finances well, what do you need to be doing with your finances now? What do you need to be doing in your fitness now for your 2031 self to thank you? What do you need to be doing in your faith now for your 2031 self to thank you? What do you need to be doing with your family now for your 2031 self to thank you? What do you need to be doing in your fun time, in your downtime, in your hobbies? I mean, listen, my 2031 self is going to say, Claudine, thank you for starting Taekwondo. Listen, by 2031, I should be a black belt. I mean, my brother asked me the other day, have you started fighting yet? Have you started to do combat? The thought actually petrifies me. The thought of actually having to stand and fight, it actually petrifies me. But I'm doing it anyway. I've got the whole kind of regalia. I've got my whole kit. I've got my white belt. But I'm doing it anyway because the 2031 version of me is going to say, Claudine, listen, you train twice a week. Good for you. I'm thanking you for it because now I'm stronger. I'm fitter. It's building a different level of strength, mental strength, emotional strength, and resilience in me. What will your 2031 version of you thank you for? If you haven't done so already, please take a screenshot of this. I'm going to leave it on the screen for a couple more seconds. I want you to take a screenshot of this because I want this to be the thing that you think about over the next couple of weeks, as you lean into the rest of 2026, so that you can put system, structure, and strategy in place for you to win. Because for me, it's all about the win. It's all about the win. All right. I think we've got some time for this, and in a moment, I'm gonna put you all in groups of three. Just in case those of you are not able to make it into a group. And I've got 4 questions that I want you to answer in your groups. I've got 4 questions that I want you to answer in your groups. And the reason I'm going to put you into groups is because I think it will give you an opportunity to unpack this in a slightly different way. So before I put you into group, let me do this. All right. Let me share my screen because I want you to take another screenshot. So I hope you know that you've come to work today. All right. So you've come to work today. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take a screenshot of this, and in your groups, I want you to answer this question. Number 1, I will stop. I will start. I will continue. I will accelerate. And the reason why I'm asking you to do this is because I want you to be held accountable. When you say it out loud, it does something different to you, to your brain. It does something different to the way how you process. It does something different to the way how you think. It does something different to the way how you understand. And so I'm going to open up, I'm going to put about 3 or 4. No. I'm going to put about 3 or 4 of you per breakout room, just in case some of you aren't able to go for whatever reason. And I'm going to give you literally 6 minutes to run through these questions. So hopefully you've taken a screenshot. The breakout rooms are now open. You should have something that comes up on your screen to invite you to the breakout room. You just need to press join room and you should be able to go. Some of the real work starts when you are offline, when you're in your own space, when you are speaking to yourself, when you are having those silent conversations with yourself, when you are navigating life, when you are deciding what's working, what's not working. How do you put system, structure, strategy in place that will help you get to that next level? So I'm hoping that everything that we've discussed today, some of the key takeaways, yes, we've started it in this virtual room, but it doesn't stop in this virtual room. Maybe you could allocate some time to yourself, 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, whatever will work for you and your context and the responsibilities that you have to navigate. But your strategic planning is super important to you because it's about where you are going to live in 2031. So I want you to see your strategic plan as your compass. Everybody just type the word compass in the chat box. Your strategic plan is your compass. It's your compass that helps you to gain clarity on your goals, whether they are personal goals, professional goals, spiritual goals. I mean, I'm sure we all have personal goals in terms of how we want to live. We have professional goals in terms of what we want to do in our respective career or entrepreneurial journey. We have spiritual goals in terms of how we want our relationship and how we want to demonstrate the fruits of the spirit, and how do we translate our faith in the marketplace? How do we translate our faith? Is your faith private to you, or are you bold enough to deprivatize your faith and align that with where you have been called to in this epoch of time. So your strategic plan, it's your compass to help you gain clarity on your goals. And you can use, let me tell you, page 24 through to page 31 to really deep dive, understand what's working well with your fitness, your faith, your family, your finance, your fun, friends and firm. I've created space for you to gain the clarity on those pages that you will need. The other thing that your strategic plan does, it's your compass to help you stay grounded. I spoke to you earlier on about uh, uh, the VUCA environment that we are living in, and the next kind of thought process that many economists and futurists and strategies are talking about is the Banny environment. And that Banny environment refers to the world being in a situation similar to VUCA. So VUCA stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And in that world of uncertainty, you want to bring a level of certainty into that environment. You want to be able to understand, even though there is commotion and calmness and there seems to be volatility, I need to have vision in order to combat that volatility, in order to manage that uncertainty. How do I make sure that I put the system, structure, and strategy and the vision in place to help me stay grounded when things seem uncertain? What your strategic planning process will also do, it will also help you to manage progress. So it's one thing to say, yes, I want to, lose weight, or yes, I want to increase my capacity for more, but I want you to be able to identify something that is measurable. Yes, I want to save money. How much do you want to save? What period are you saving for? What's the end goal? What amount do you need to save on a daily, weekly, monthly, annual basis to meet that target? I shared with you that I joined the retirement group, not because I'm thinking about I'm not thinking about retirement now. I'm thinking about what that looks like in the future. So what types of conversations do I need to be having now? And so I'm able to measure with clear milestones. If I want to retire at a certain age, then what does my retirement pot need to look like, and how much contribution do I need to put into that pot? So by the time I'm 67 or 70 or whatever age the government changes retirement age to, what position will I be in order to leverage and to make the best outcomes of that? And then the last thing I want you to think about is your strategic planning workbook is your compass to be adaptable. And in order to stay adaptable, you can adjust that plan, you can revisit that plan, you can revise that. You can go back to that plan time and time again, because you have put a system, structure, a strategy in place that will allow you to move at the appropriate time, that will allow you to be flexible, that will allow you to be bendable, that will allow you to be adaptable. It will allow you to really kind of lean into some of the challenges that we are seeing in this epoch of time. And your kind of theme, if you like, is about not allowing those challenges to get the best of you. So I want you to make a declaration, or to think about a declaration to yourself. What declaration do I need to make to myself right now in order to ensure that I make the best of the remaining 6 months of 2026? Everybody fully understands that we are in a volatile environment. I spoke earlier on about the BANI economy, BANI, and Banny is a new term that stands, newer term than the VUCA environment, but it stands for brittleness. The environment that many of us are navigating, it's brittle. It's not, it doesn't manage or doesn't hold the strength that we once thought it did. The A stands for anxiety. It's that whole notion of always on. It's that whole notion of Gen Z not being able to see a positive future. It's that whole notion of anger and hopelessness and depression, and there are no good choices around. It's that whole notion, the N stands for non-linear. It's that whole notion of how do we navigate things that don't seem to be a level playing field? How do we navigate things that are incomprehensible? That's the I of Vanny. And my encouragement for you today is be resilient. Accept where we are and put a system, structure, and strategy in place that will allow you to navigate the season. I spoke in a previous session about neuroplasticity and how you are able to create new neurological pathways in your brain by doing different things. Brushing your teeth with your other hand is a simple way of creating new neurological pathways in your brain, because you're training your brain to do something different. Write it. If you're right-handed, practice writing your name with your left hand. It's training your brain to do something differently and strengthening the muscle, the internal muscle that you cannot see. This today, the 4th of July, is your season to step into a different season. It's your time to say goodbye to dead things. Dead things represent dead mindsets, dead mentalities, dead ways of doing things, old methodologies, old thought processes, old things that are no longer serving you in this season of your life. I want you to make a declaration to yourself. I want you to make a declaration to yourself about how you intend to live out the remaining 6 months of 2026. If you believe the scripture that says, I am the head and not the tail, I am above and not beneath, then how are you going to live that out? How are you going to make sure that you lean into what you are saying? How are you going to make sure that you lean into the courage that you crave for this next season? How are you going to make sure that you lean into the strength that's required of you in this season, the strength to say no to something good and walk away because you know that there is something great that's ahead of you? How are you going to ensure that you have the strength to say no to something good because you know there is something great ahead of you? Sometimes we get stuck in this cycle of sameness that causes us to stay going round and round and round in a circle in that rat race. That's what Robert Kiyosaki calls it, the rat race of life, because it's good. But so many of you want better. So many of you want more, but we're not striving for more because we're comfortable here. How many of you are prepared to get uncomfortable in the remaining 6 months of 2026 in order to ensure that by the 31st of December, 2026, by the 31st of December 2026, you will be able to say, I stopped doing, I started doing, I will continue, I will accelerate, so that you can have the best possible outcomes that you know are in store for you. So with this in mind, I want you to think about the types of declarations that you're making to yourself. I want you to think about what this next season requires of you and step into it with confidence, with courage, and with clarity, because I believe the best is yet to come.